Michigan, p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturdays. Today we're 23 hours late, 11 a.m. Sunday, but we wanted to celebrate Mother's Day with everybody because,
hey, moms.
fun
Happy
fact,
Mother's Day.
we have 0 mothers that are fans of ours.
That's
Just
probably
kidding.
true.
I know. So I
Have you
checked
told your Have you told your mom? Has she ever watched anything?
I don't think so. No, my grandma is a big fan of ours, but ever since we moved exclusively to YouTube, she doesn't really know how to navigate YouTube. But
man.
Our analytics say that like 93% of our audience is male from 25 to 45. So maybe a female mother sprinkles in. If so, happy Mother's Day. And
this one's for you, moms.
This one's for you, moms. I always thought this was a funny statement or sentiment to send to somebody. If you tell somebody, tell your mom I said happy Mother's Day. Depending on your tone, it can be very pleasant, or it can just sound like the most offensive thing one could say. But happy Mother's Day. Matt, What are you doing to celebrate your Mother's Day?
Well, I will make sure that I at least text my mother. She lives in a different state, so I don't know the last time I've actually been in person around my mother on Mother's Day. Lucky me, I guess. But yeah, I'll hit her up and see how she's doing. I've got her on a scavenger hunt for a picture of me as D'Lo Brown for Halloween in like 4th grade, and she hasn't come through yet, so that might affect how nice I am to her this Mother's Day.
Yeah,
we need that you?
Picture. So we're gonna go over to my mom. My mom's local. She lives 10, 12 minutes away, so we'll go over there for a little dinner, BBQ action, and I'll give her the gift that we got that took zero thought. We just stopped at a little chocolate shop on our way down back from up north. So
yeah. Well, but there's like souvenir from like a special place, probably something it might be like unique and like from a small, independently owned shop.
Exactly.
Moms love that shit.
Exactly. They do. They just like little things that shows you were thinking about them, I think.
Yeah. The more the store smells like a pine cone, the more a mom will like what it is from it.
So perfect. I never thought about it like that. So I'm thinking, what White Barn candles from Bed Bath & Beyond, or Bath & Body Works. I always get those two mixed up. But
you can get candles probably at Bed Bath & Beyond. But yeah, Bath & Body Works is gonna definitely candles. Bed Bath & Beyond is like if they shrunk a Costco but just made it sell home goods.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. So I wanted to start with your idea, Matt, because you texted it to me and I looked at it. I go, that'd be interesting. But it took like an hour after I read the text for it to sink in. It was because it's Mother's Day. So Matt, I was just like, that's an interesting. But Matt, what was the thing that you wanted to put on the agenda to talk about today so we can hop right into it?
Yeah, well, when Chris said, hey, let's make Sunday work, I was like, oh, shoot, Mother's Day is Sunday. And there's been some moms in WWE, not as many as you'd think. My thought is Vince McMahon just hates the idea of mothers and probably was like, I don't want to see any women with even pretending to have children or that have ever birthed a child. So I'm guessing that's why we've had very few mother segments, but I would say even less dad segments. So it's probably just like we don't talk about parents. Kind of like a Disney movie, like all the princesses' parents are like dead and gone. So WWE is basically Disney movie. But yeah, I thought we could just like spotlight a couple moms, WWE, real kayfabe, cross-dressing ones. Santino Marella probably pretended to be a mom once. I don't know. So, Chris, if you want to start us off, do you have any like mom highlights from WWE?
Yeah. So when you texted this to me, usually I have ideas flowing right off the top of my head. I could only think of one, and it was Linda McMahon and the mom segment from WrestleMania 17 when she was wheelchair bound, kayfabe wheelchair bound, and Shane and Vince went out there and put on a hell of an entertaining match. And I was a little confused on the timeline because this was just before the invasion angle, but Vince was the heel and Shane was the baby face. But I remember going into the invasion, they flip-flopped. So Vince was just on a tear. He was treating Trish Stratus like dog shit. And they had Linda, who this was like too much for her brain to comprehend. So she just like, I don't know if she had a stroke or what, but she was wheelchair bound. And Vince kind of carried her up, sat her down in a chair in the ring. She was sitting down in the corner, and he was like, I want you to see what I'm going to do to your son. And there was one part, dude, where she was sitting in right outside the ring, and he did the classic Vince flipping her off like this. Like whenever he did the finger, they would just be like little nubs. Like he couldn't even call it, like, when is it technically the finger? He would stop right there. And she was in the corner, and he was just about to, I think, hit Shane with a chair or with a trash can. And the classic moment where she was faking it the whole time. She stood up, kicked Vince in the balls. Shane hit Vince with, I think, the coast to coast to end the match. And it was just a feel good moment to wrap up that whole feud, even though that was a feud that went on for years, but that was like part of the feud. So that was the one that I could think of.
That's a really good one and a really predominant one. All the mother segments or mothers that I thought off the top of my head are like very tangential to any like main story arc. That was like a key focus, obviously. And yeah, the McMahon family is going to be the one, section where you're going to find that kind of familial feuds, since not a lot of other superstars or people in WWE have that built in. But maybe the one that I should definitely point out as the most significant and maybe infamous, one of the more infamous segments, is good old Mae Young falling in love with sexual chocolate Mark Henry. The insinuation that they got together and that Mae Young was going to have Mark Henry's child, be a mother, and she birthed a hand. And it was a guy, literally a full-grown man standing in a hand outfit. I had to go back and look at the image. And yeah, so WWE may be the only thing that's ever had a hand mom, a mother to a hand. I don't know what to call her. But that's gotta be one of the like WWE try to forget about segments. I don't think that's ever going to make a video that they'll randomly throw out about like our best Mother's Day segments. But
right.
what a great one. What a unique one. But a couple others, real moms in WWE off the top of my head, performers Becky most recently.
Yep.
So shout out to Becky. Hope Seth is doing something nice for her today.
Yeah.
Mama Rhodes recently got to watch her son take the beat downs from The Rock. She's got her name on a belt. I've got my order. It's back ordered, but you can get your weightlifting belt. Say Mama Rhodes on there.
Mama Rhodes.
No, I don't know if I'd ever get a weightlifting belt that said Mama Rhodes. And then another really bad gimmick that never worked. Shelton Benjamin had like a Tyler Perry-esque mama character that would come out with him to the ring and kind of like yell at him, being like an overbearing mom, be like proud of him, but be sad when he lost. But it was a weird gimmick that kind of worked for when I was younger, and I was like, oh, this is stupid, but man, you wanted to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so many segments over the years, if you got to come up with 5 to 7 to 8 hours of TV every single week, there's going to be some odd stuff in there, especially early 2000s WWE with the birth to the hand. And I was thinking about when Charlotte Flair was feuding with, I'm blanking on her name, the military woman who got released recently. Lacey Evans. Who they kayfabe she was in a relationship with Ric Flair, and the insinuation was that Flair had gotten her pregnant. Ric Flair had gotten Lacey Evans pregnant, and then she had to go away. Always thought that there was something to her, but never booked exactly right. I always thought I kind of just kept missing the mark with her, but
I think somebody you're high on is going to be her, but more successful. I think Tiffany Stratton kind of has like Lacey Evans early vibes, but I think she already has more of a gimmick, more of a character, and is more over with the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a better time to transition to the next topic we were talking about today. From moms, you'd mentioned Tiffany Stratton. let's go on and talk about the Queen of the Ring tournament.
Oh, yes, Queen.
Yes, Queen. Now, WWE/Google Images have done a terrible job of keeping us updated with the bracket, so that's what we're here to do. Now, I have
Yeah.
all of the matches written down. We probably won't have time to go into every single one of them, but I do want to make sure that we leave this knowing the 8 competitors that are still in the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournaments. So, Matt, I throw it to you. I have the SmackDown bracket over here. Are there any favorites that you have seeing come out of this Queen of the Ring tournament crowned as 2024 Queen of the Ring?
Well, I would say these 3 right here. And of course, Bianca's going up against Tiffany Stratton because she
Correct.
did win on Friday. I would say those 4 are all the favorites versus anybody on the Raw side, which is like Io, Lyra, Zoe, and the winner of Vega and Baszler. I think it's pretty like I don't like how this is filling out. I would like to. I know we talked about this last time. I think there was a chance to put the title on Nia Jax because you knew you had a believable person to take it off her once the heat got too much and people were tuning out. Jade Cargill just lifting and slamming Nia, even if it's not a good match, is going to be so over when she takes the title off a hated heel. But now you've already got them in the semifinals here. I don't know what you do with this. And do you have Cargill and Belair go up against each other? How does one of Jade or Bianca lose? I'm actually hoping WWE bides some time here and puts one of them in like a different feud and has somebody cost them the match so that they don't have to square off. I would maybe like to see Nia win this still, but she can't beat Jade clean, obviously. So I don't know how this goes. I think if I was a betting man, Jade Cargill's going to win this. The whole thing.
I agree with Jade Cargill as the winner. Now, you can't do... I don't think you can do Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair yet.
No.
Because I think they save that for down the line when
a huge match.
Yes, that's going to be huge. It could be SummerSlam main event or even like a night, maybe like a night 1 WrestleMania main event if they hold off for that long. But yeah, if Bianca loses to Tiffany Stratton, I see some shenanigans happening. So maybe we get Jade versus Tiffany in the semifinals. But seems like, I don't want to say they booked themselves into a corner, but there's a few people in here that really I don't want to see take a loss. I don't want to see Jade Cargill take a loss unless it's with some shenanigans. So maybe whoever they have challenged for the women's tag titles, you have one of those team members cost Cargill and then the other one costs Bianca, and then they can say, hey, you know, you're up next, whatever. So they can keep that going. But I do have the results at least up to date here with the winners and losers. Now, I don't believe Shayna and Zelina have fought yet. I know a few of the matches took place on house shows, which was interesting, but I couldn't agree more. I don't see anyone from Raw being a serious contender, and let's blow it up a little bit so everyone can see it. I don't see anyone from Raw being a serious contender because left from Raw, we have Io versus Zoe, and then Lyra versus probably Shayna Baszler. And is there anyone out of these 4 Raw superstars that you see taking it for Raw and going on to the finals?
Well, there's a couple ways. Like, the booking is really weird and really interesting here. On the one end, I would like to see Zoe versus Baszler and have former partners go one-on-one. I think those are the 2 most likely to actually maybe have like a competitive match and be believable. So they might advance one of those 2. But if what you say, and I think it's a good idea, whoever's going to challenge for the tag titles kind of screw over Jade and Bianca. So we get a good chance for Nia and to advance. I would like, and I'm calling this now, I think Zelina Vega beats Shayna Baszler in an upset.
Oh, okay.
And then I think if Jade loses for whatever shenanigans reasons, I like a Zelina Vega Nia Jax Queen of the Ring final. Crowd will be so behind Zelina.
Yeah.
She'll come up just short, and Nia Jax can like really get big heat there from that. But that is my alternative. If they don't do Jade Cargill and they find a good way to keep her away from Bianca in a matchup and away from winning this to like hold off her imminent rise, I'd like to see David versus Goliath for Queen of the Ring.
I think that's an awesome take, and I am sold. I am going Zelina Vega.
Yeah, I want that upset. She's gonna
Yeah.
get a win here. I think she's gonna beat Baszler, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. For whatever reason, I was just going with the thought that they haven't really done much with Zelina lately. The last thing they did of significance was Backlash 2023 when
Puerto
she
Rico match.
fought, what was that, Rhea, and she had the crowd behind her.
Yeah.
She has that Latino descent, but I am a huge fan of Zelina Vega. I think there's a small handful of women on the roster that, check all the boxes. And I think when she's given the right stuff, she's very charismatic. Her personality shines through, and she's freaking awesome in the ring. So I agree. I would like to see Zelina go far here.
Yeah.
But then it kind of leaves like Lyra Valkyria. You don't want to bring up the NXT people and not shine a spotlight on them. So it'll be very interesting to see where we go from here.
Yeah.
But let's take it over to the men's King of the Ring, because
King of the Ring.
there
Yes,
are
King?
just as many, if not more, matches here that it's like you can't have any of these guys lose. I'll be totally honest. When I first looked at it, I go, Gunther. There's nobody more deserving and nobody that I could not see taking a loss than Gunther. But there are at least 4 guys in this tournament that I can't really see losing. What do you think? Just first glance.
This also has some weird matchups. So Gunther, we don't know his quarterfinal opponent, but it'll be either Ray or Kofi. And you're right, neither of those guys can lose. Like, they could lose their momentum for it. No, I mean, that first round match, like, that's just who's gonna get fed to Gunther. But yeah, you're right. Like, Ilya, I think Jay will go over Dragunov, because I think it's just going to be another showcase for how good he is, but he doesn't need to win right now. But Jey Uso, I think people want him there, and I think he's going to keep the excitement. I think the hardest and trickiest one is the Tama Tonga and LA Knight. Like, Tama Tonga's had like, what, 2 matches now? Maybe? Or he's interfered in one and had 1 match. Like, if he loses so soon, that kind of destroys the mystique and the bloodline powerful if he just loses LA Knight. But you really don't want LA Knight to lose here. Like, he needs, I think like Gunther LA Knight is the finals that we would want, that I would want a really dominant heel versus a very over face. I don't know where they go with this. And you've got Carmelo Hayes as an NXT wild card along with Randy Orton. I think Randy wins that one. I think both of the NXT call-ups put on good showings so the crowd can be over for them, but Randy and Jay end up both winning. If I had to predict who wins this all, man, I go with Gunther. It's the safe pick, but it almost seems too obvious. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think Gunther is a guarantee, or is there some way you see somebody else winning?
Man, if I had to put money on it, gun to head, I probably have to go Gunther. But I think it's just so hard for me to picture him losing a match. He went almost 2 years without losing a single match. So he drops the IC title to Sammy. Is you just going to throw him right into the King of the Ring to lose again? I don't see it unless there's some crazy shenanigans that cost him a loss. Yeah,
maybe Vinci can come out and cause him a loss.
Oh, that's interesting.
If there was any way, I think that's the only option.
Right. And so gun to head, I have to go Gunther, but I think Gunther, hard to see taking a loss. Ilya Dragunov, I think he had such a good showing against Ricochet, and they're trying to make him a big deal. Hard to see him taking a loss. And I'll preface by saying a clean loss, and they've been doing a really good job of not having much shenanigans to, not make a guy look weak. So Dragunov, hard to see taking a loss. Tama Tonga, he's kind of being booked as like the new, not not
The new Solo.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
So
now Solo's the new Roman.
I know he can't really take a loss.
No.
Carmelo, I mean, he looked great against Cody and took a loss and was fine, but I don't think you want to do that too often with a guy like that, because then he just becomes, he's really good at putting on a show and almost winning against the big stars, but I don't see him taking a loss. Now, I do think that if Tama Tonga is going to take a loss, it's going to be some kind of interference, maybe KO or Randy Orton comes, and because Randy Orton says something like he's going to get him an RKO and make sure that he does see it coming. And so maybe Randy Orton causes that loss and LA Knight can advance to face whoever. But man, it's tough. It's a tough call.
Yeah.
So said all that to say, if I had to pick, I'm probably going to go Gunther versus Tama Tonga. I don't see Tama Tonga losing. So who does he got in the second round? He's got LA Knight. LA Knight can take a loss. He'll be fine. And then it's Orton versus Carmelo Hayes. Who do you see winning that?
I see Orton.
Yeah.
I think they will. I think it will be it's Orton and Cody. It's a champ and like a Hall of Famer. But you know what? But I also, Randy could take the loss. This one's either way. But the thing is, like, Carmelo's not gonna win the whole thing and probably won't be the guy I don't know. Maybe they book him to win it all.
Yeah.
If there's one, like, because Gunther's gone through everybody on the roster for 2 years. But a very convincing guy that could beat him is somebody that's just as talented, who's come up from NXT and they've never fought. So if there's a way you could convince me, like, this guy might have Gunther's number, and that's the only reason he survived so long for 2 years, maybe Carmelo just wins it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good point. You changed my mind. I think I'll go Carmelo Hayes over Orton. Maybe it stops there. I don't know.
Okay. And, I suppose that's one way to keep the Bloodline and Randy Orton, Kevin Owens feud going on a little longer. Like, say, Carmelo Hayes versus Randy Orton. Bloodline comes out, kind of costs Orton a little distraction, so Carmelo Hayes can get that victory. And then Orton reciprocates, distracts Tama Tonga, so LA Knight can come out and beat Tama Tonga. So then you have the two finalists on the SmackDown side as LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes.
Ooh.
Man. So yeah, Carmelo Hayes.
Like
that's a really good match. Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight, probably going to be Gunther, because I don't see Kofi Kingston beating Gunther.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. And then the winner of Ilya Dragunov and Jey Uso.
Yeah.
Take your pick, but that's a hell of a
Dragunov Gunther match would be incredible.
Yeah, they had a couple bangers in NXT.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of bangers, Gunther cut this hilarious promo. Side note, he and Sheamus, I mean, they had 2 back-to-back main events, just casually, like Gunther versus Sheamus. That could main event a pay-per-view, PLE. And then they had AJ Styles versus Orton. That could main event a freaking WrestleMania if it needed to. But Gunther was cutting a promo just before the match against Sheamus, and he said something like, "I don't care about the bangers," or something like that. Like, how just deadpan he delivers his promos.
That's great.
Funniest stuff. And then apparently Sheamus tweeted out something and then deleted it. Something about he was drawing a comparison of Gunther and Hitler, and then they made him take it down. He was like, guy from Germany that, wears the big coat and, whatever. Not going to touch that, but super funny.
Yeah. All right. I've got 2 questions about King of the Ring for you.
Yes.
1. Well, I guess the second one's dependent on your first answer. 1. How are you feeling about King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring this year? Are you what's your interest level in it, and how well do you think it's going?
I am super interested in it. I love it. I think they're placing a huge emphasis on it. And I think that's kind of what they've been lacking over the past few years, where they have something that makes a big deal out of people that aren't the champions. So they had Money in the Bank, but carrying around Money in the Bank doesn't necessarily make you a big deal. Damian Priest got booked, wins, losses, didn't really matter. but I think a King of the Ring is a perfect stepping stone to the next level. That's why my initial thought was Gunther all the way.
Mhm.
So that's my answer to that. I'm going to throw it
Nice.
right back to you. How do you feel about it? Think it's been booked well? And
I think it's definitely been given more attention, like you said. I feel like in previous years, like the opening segment was still like the main storyline that had nothing to do with King of the Ring, and the main event was something else, like a Teddy Long, tag team match playa between all guys feuding for the titles, and like that the King of the Ring qualifying and like early round match was just thrown in the middle. And I think because they really have some like hard booking decisions, this is very interesting. In previous King of the Rings, it was like, okay, like they just had they didn't have enough guys over, or that had just come up, or that had like good momentum. So it was like very obvious, and if there was an upset, it was just like, well, this guy's gonna lose the next round for sure because they're just trying to swerve us. Um, so I think it's gonna continue to go well, especially this next round for both men's and women's is going to be very interesting. If there was one thing you could change about King of the Ring, is there anything that you're like, I would do this to make it just a little bit better, or I would change this one thing? I don't know if you have any ideas on that. I do
I
if you don't. So,
Okay, I think so. And our heads might be in the same place, but I would have stakes on the line. I would have the
oh,
winner
oh,
gets a title shot to whichever they choose or whichever brand they're on. So if it's a Raw guy that wins, World Heavyweight, SmackDown guy or gal, WWE Undisputed, or whatever they're calling the titles nowadays. But I would put some sort of stakes on the line. What about you?
Oh, 100% agree. That's a good one. And I think we've talked together about that before, and I wasn't even going that way. Mine is I would put the champions in King of the Ring, because
Hmm.
this is kind of like a almost like mid-season, like NBA just started doing like a mid-season tournament this
Oh,
past year, where like in November or December something, they had like a small like tournament between the teams, and somebody won like a mid-season tournament.
nice.
Obviously, like this isn't, you're not going to lose your title. This is a great chance to actually have your champion maybe show that signs of weakness, or is to still build stories around that. Like, could Sami Zayn come in here and just lose to somebody that sets up a next feud if he does, go over Bronson and Gable? Could Cody take a
Hmm.
shock loss here? I know you wouldn't want him to, but if there's one way to keep your face from getting too much hate, it's by having them be like, I really want to go in and I want to win King of the Ring. And maybe he gets screwed over by his next challenger, or maybe they just have a great match and Gunther beats him and says, like, this wasn't for the title, but I'm winning this King of the Ring and I'm coming for you down the line. And we know that, like, I think that would put like the odds stronger against Cody if Gunther then does get to be number one contender and challenge him. And then like, Gunther's got already beat him. How's Cody going to beat him? And Cody can win in that rematch and defend his title. I'd like to see champions thrown in this as well. I think you'd be able to have a little bit more interesting dynamics and allow them to lose clean matches and not lose a title.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You don't see champions lose in non-title matches much anymore, and it certainly gives whoever beats them ammo to get a title shot down the road.
Mhm.
Gunther being a perfect example, because I think it's only a matter of time. We all know it's only a matter of time before Gunther is in that world title picture. And what a better way than beating Cody or beating Damian Priest in a
Right,
match
and
with
Damian
Damian.
Priest is a much better example of a guy that could be in this, take the clean loss, and people are like mad that like it wasn't for the title, but like
Yeah,
good, like now we know, and like he could be mad, because that'd be the perfect heel thing to do. Be like, well, I'm the champ, I'm gonna also become king. I'm entering myself in this tournament, lose in the first round or
yeah,
something. I saw it would be even better for Priest than Cody, but you could make it work for any champion. So
yeah,
I hope they go for that someday.
yeah, for
if
sure.
they if they don't have the superstars, they've got a deep enough roster though that I get why you might never feel like you need to do it, because you're trying to showcase other guys.
Right. Well, before we move on to the what came out of SmackDown in terms of Cody's next challenger, I had one question
Oh,
about the King of the Ring, and I couldn't help but notice that your boy Baron Corbin took a
Oh,
loss in the
he
first round.
did.
How did you feel about that?
Well, it was to Carmelo Hayes, so I'm all right with it. It wasn't until like, Kofi or Ray or an already like established superstar. So I'm all right with it because I heard it was like a good match, and I think Corbin's already been a King of the Ring once. He's a king in my book, king forever. Um,
Yeah,
I would like to see him get a little bit more action in on the shows here.
yeah.
Corbin's great.
Absolutely. I agree. And I just want to share the chat right now. We got a couple people hopping in, and Breath of Fresh
Yeah.
Air
Oh,
he just said push Corbin.
I agree. Yeah.
And I agree too. I hope that breaking up the Wolf Dogs wasn't a bad idea, because I don't want Corbin floundering, and I am a Braun Breaker guy. I don't want Braun Breaker to flounder. And if it's something where they would have just been better off together, then why break them up in the first place?
Yeah.
So, moving on to the final topic of the day, we
Final
did
topic.
see Cody's next challenger, kind of surprisingly, maybe
Yeah,
not,
no doubt.
but Logan
Absolutely.
Paul. And I don't know if this is a title versus title match, or if just Cody's WWE Undisputed titles on the line. But either
Mm.
way, any thoughts on Cody versus Logan Paul?
I agree. I found it surprising, but I think I'm like 50-50 on it. I think it's good because I think Logan Paul brings attention and eyes, whether or not they're the ones that are similar to ours, but they're kids that love the guy and things like that. So I know WWE feels like that's a good thing. My only concern is AJ Styles, who's a tremendous all-time wrestler and always can be built up to be a threat, and then Logan Paul. If you're really like knowing and kind of like thinking along the lines of, is WWE really gonna have like AJ Styles be the one to beat Cody? Is Logan really gonna beat Cody? You know that these feuds are kind of like not really legitimate threats to Cody's title reign. And the worst thing that happens, and I feel like this happened with John Cena a lot, it wasn't that he always got booked to win, it's that his opponents never really had any credibility going in before. You were like, they're not going to put the title on Umaga, man. As scary as John Cena's trying to make him, and as like many times as he's lost in tag matches to him, Umaga's not going to win and hold the title for a month, let alone more. I just feel the same. And I'm worried that if Cody doesn't get like good built up credible challengers, people might kind of slowly turn or want to see something different. So I think after this and heading into SummerSlam, they need to start getting that feud ready so we know what's down the line. And maybe give the King of the Ring winner a shot at Cody. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. I like the feud. I do like the Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes feud. I think they'll have a couple of weeks to have some entertaining promos, and I liked what they did on
Mm,
SmackDown. Cody Cody is such a nice guy. He said, I'm sure there are some people that look at you and say, "What a dumbass," or whatever he said. And he's very good at insulting someone without being the one to say, like, rather than Cody being like, "You're a dumbass," be like,
yeah.
"Sure, there's some people." So I thought that was clever. I think Logan Paul checks all the boxes, and he's awesome in the ring. That's no surprise. But I think just in terms of entertainment and on the mic, he's great. So I'm excited to see their promo exchanges over the next couple of weeks. Of course, they're going to do a contract signing next week, which will be
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a great match. They can both go in the ring, but there's no shot Logan Paul's going to win. They're not going to do that. I think it is a good way to get eyeballs on it. He's very well known, and on a grand stage like in Saudi, they did the Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul match also in
Hmm.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So there's just something to that. And he can always be taken seriously as a credible challenger to
Yeah.
whoever the world champion is. So I like it, but you're not going to make me believe for 1 second that Logan Paul has a chance. What I'm more curious about is, are both titles on the line? And is Cody going to walk out a double champion or what? I don't know if it's a way for Cody to be the double champion and Logan Paul to go away for a little while, if he's going to do a part-time schedule. I don't know. A lot of questions that I'm curious to see what comes out
Yeah.
after the event.
Well, I actually like I focused mostly on the result, and you were like, yeah, I don't see him as a threat either. But I like the two things that you said. There are two really amazing things to look forward to, despite knowing the result. The promos leading up to it could be really good and really unique between two guys with two personalities that you don't see, promo off all that frequently. I think there's going to be some good and interesting stuff here that can blur the lines of reality. So that's always great. And then, I'm very curious to see how in-ring this match goes, because like Logan Paul, his early matches were against, really good workers. And of course, Cody is as well, but against guys that can make you look good. You get a few big spots in and the crowd's going to be like, oh, this guy had an amazing match, And a lot of times it might just because they remember the spot or two and that worker made you look awesome. But he's had some really good matches, authentically, genuinely, just because of what he's been able to do. And I think this is your top guy. This is Cody Rhodes. If you go in there and have a great match with him, like you can be here for as long as you want, because they're gonna see like, wow, you can do it. So if this is a great match, a Dave Meltzer 8-star match where he's shooting loads onto his magazine because he's still doing physical print, then you got me forever sold on Logan. I like him anyway, but I want to see if this is main event against main eventer, and if Logan can do it.
Yeah, I thought I would be the last one to come around to Logan Paul, but he's sold me. I do see some of the stuff. It seems like every day I come across a video on YouTube, like of what kind of person he is outside and just how shady he is and shady business deals and all this stuff. But I don't know I don't know if it's serious or what, if he really is, a bad guy, but whatever. He's a fantastic wrestler, fantastic performer, and he's entertaining. So I think it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be a great match, and I'm pumped for the Saudi show in a couple of weeks. It seems like they're just hurling those PLEs at us, keeping us busy at least.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's everything I've got on this main topic. Are there any other, quick hitters before we wrap up that you've got on your mind?
Nothing that I got on my mind. It was a week of King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, and I'm sure it'll be more of the same this week, but I'm excited to see who's crowned at the end. I'm more excited for King and Queen of the Ring than I am about, I think, Cody and Logan Paul.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, well, I'll have to get my own crown that I have next time, or at least when we finish up, and there's Crowned a King, and maybe put my crown on the line against the King of the Ring winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have anything before we wrap up?
Nope, just wanted to brag about my crowns.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for checking us out. We will be here back at normal time next week and moving forward. That's again 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays, right here on YouTube. So thanks for stopping by.
And tell your mom Happy Mother's Day, and say it in the night.